Welcome back, Dead Lori fans. I'm your host, Dead Lori, and I'm back from a very long leave. I apologize for that. I had some medical stuff, and then my laptop stopped working. I want to introduce you to upcoming videos and stories. I held a contest on Booksy where I received lots of stories from talented writers. They have been eager to have their stories read on my channel. The first story is by Adrian Hunt from Birmingham, England, and his story is called The Surgeon. Sometimes one must do terrible things in the name of love, and the surgeon really did love his work. He pulled the final stitch tight, carefully not to let it tear the skin, and then snipped the thread above the knot. Good. The patient might pull through yet. Satisfied, he stepped back to admire his work in full. Terrible yet beautiful. In his work and in love, both terrible and beautiful. He knew the song, a distant nursery school memory, but not the voice that was singing it. Well, not singing, rather growling through gritty teeth, and the time with the rhythmic beat. He felt a deep, crushing pressure on his chest, pounding like the big bass drum in time with Nellie's march. Next came the air, unwelcomed, gust forced into his lungs, filling them with an alien plastic sense that he tasted on the way out as well as the way in. There would be two of these. He now knew he would come to learn the pattern now, the pattern that revealed itself from sneer blackness. The pattern that revealed itself from the serene blackness. After the two forced breaths, Nellie struck up her march once again. If only the darkness would return, and if it would deepen, perhaps the maddening song would be banished forever and take the vile air with it. Would that be the end? Would it be death? By God, he so desperately hoped so. Death, though, refused to come. Against his own will, and the primal urge welled in him until the final. Though he fought against it, a gasping breath came, followed by another. Along with breathing came the pain. It exploded white hot from the epicenters deep inside his limbs and coursed through his body, detonated again and again by the slightest movement. He tried to be still, to leave the terrible beast asleep, but sooner or later the burning in his lungs would always overcome him and his breathing would return. So too did the screams, until the darkness enveloped him once again. I've nearly lost you a few times back there. It was the same voice, though calm now, not frantically singing as it had before. Each word now spoken with a measure of calm. No matter. You're by no means out of the woods yet, but at least you're probably awake now. You were lucky to pull through. You should be very grateful to be alive. His name, he now remembered, was Sam. He was in a hospital. That much was clear, and he was badly injured. They had him immobilized somehow, maybe some sort of traction. He could sense his arms and legs splayed wide, as if he was caught suspended in a star jump. His head was secured too, fixing his view to a single fluorescent tube light directly above him with a white ceiling. Definitely a hospital. Sam tried his voice. What happened? He managed, an alien rasping sound forced from his parched throat. I'd fixed you, said the voice. It was touch and go for a time, but then your surgery was very complex. In fact, I'm the only surgeon anywhere to attempt a procedure like this, So far as I know. As I said, you are very lucky. Sam registered little pain, and breathing was much easier now. How long have I been out? He croaked. It seemed like an obvious question. I sedated you for a while. I had to give you a little time to recover from surgery. A few days, that is all. What happened? Was in an accident? There was a pause, and at first he thought that the surgeon had left. When the answer came, it made him start, sending a sharp twinge of pain through his arms and legs. Not an accident, no. He waited for the rest, the explanation of how he ended up here, of his injuries, and of the procedures that the surgeons have performed in order to fix him. Do you like the fun fair? The surgeon asked instead. I love them, personally. The thrill of the waltz, the lights, the noise, the Ferris wheel was always my favorite. Doctor, please, it's Mr. Francois. I'm a surgeon. Mr. Francois, please. The pain was returning, the sharp, cutting agony that he remembered from the edges of the darkness. Please, I just want to know what has happened to me, where I am, and what... He trailed off as another sweeping swell of pain built, its peak bringing salty tears to his eyes. Another pause, and again he wondered if the surgeon was still there. How rude of me, he said quietly. Please excuse me. In my excitement, I quite forgot my manners. Please allow me to show you. Be warned, this would hurt. All at once, the room was filled with mechanical whirl, and Sam felt himself being lifted, still spread eagle, slowly upright. His head spun, a sudden wave of nausea washing over him. There was also pain, no longer a slow throb, but now a searing agony of splitting flesh, and he managed opening of a partially healed wounds. Finally, he was fully upright, and by blinking away the blur of tears he could just make out a silhouette of a man in a white coat with an enormous red curtain behind him. Behold, the figure said, reaching for the curtain cord, my labor of love. As the curtains were swept aside, revealing a mirror, Sam's stomach lurched. What he saw were the steel rods driven into the stumps, once his limbs. Holding him suspended in a circular frame, the surgeon smiled and then flipped the switch beside him. The room suddenly awash with color fluorescence and music. Slowly the world began to spin. As the human Ferris wheel became consumed by the darkness, his fading mind picked up the tune that was playing. Off she went with a thumpity thump, 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 thump. Off she went with a trumpety trump, trump.